Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Swim Lessons. As you can tell, we're not in our usual spot, but that's because we've been on the road lately, or I have been doing calling some basketball games for Game Day Media. Shout out Game Day Media. We're doing games tonight, Thursday, March 7th. So if you're listening to this on the morning of March 7th, check out Game Day Media on YouTube and doing some play-by-play for them. But my guest today is one of my favorite people. I've known him for the last, I would say, 11, 12 years, and his name is Jordan Wilhelm, a.k.a. Willie. Jordan Wilhelm is the head boys basketball coach for Bismarck High. He has been for a while now, and what Willie does interesting is I would call him a player's coach. He does a fantastic job with his kids. He runs this really cool scheme defensively and offensively, and I've really grown to love watching his kids not only play, but I went to practice today, watched them, and then we did the podcast, and just the way he handles himself around his kids I find very interesting. And they are going to play in state this weekend. It's a big tournament here in North Dakota, so I wish all the best to the Demons as they try to become state champions. But before we get to Jordan Wilhelm, we got to talk about Sports on Tap, our new sponsor. Sports on Tap and Planet Pizza, Minot's place to have any kind of fun. Minot's very owned and operated fun place for the last 30 years. And Tony Mueller and his family have done a fantastic job with this place. You can call Sports on Tap or find them on Facebook. It's Sports on Tap, their Facebook page. Or reach out to them if you have a pizza party or you want the kids to play a little laser tag. Their number is 701-837-8220. So shout out Sports on Tap. Appreciate the sponsorship. Next up is Neighborhood Pediatric Therapy. Neighborhood Pediatric Therapy is located in the central part of Minot, and they provide speech and therapy services for individuals from birth all the way to age 21. Services range from free screenings, speech and language evaluations, and therapy for a variety of areas including feeding, language, speech, sounds, and auditory processing. They also accept a wide variety of insurances. You can find more information about them on their website at www.neighborhoodnd.com and give them a call, 701-837-8877, about any questions you have, or just set up an appointment to chat with them. Next up is Up Top the clothing company. Up Top grew up from the ground up, and that's why roots are so important to the team at Up Top. Up Top was formed in Butte, Montana from its founders of Luke and Colt Anderson. Up Top continues to be designed in Montana with Butte's tough as nails mantra, with apparel for both men and women. Check them out on social media at UpTop, that's UPTOP, or just online at teamuptop.com. Very good clothing brand. Last but not least, Glosso Angus. A proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, Glosso Angus is your premier source for registered Black Angus cattle since 1973. Glosso Angus showcase dominance, durability, and docility and are built to thrive on the northern plains. Check out Glosso Angus, that's GLASOE, Angus.com. Thank you to all the sponsors that helped today be possible. And if you have a company that might be interested in an upcoming Swim Lessons podcast, we got a lot of good ones coming up. Give me a call or just DM me if you want to talk about a potential sponsorship. And as always, thanks for the likes. Make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you use to listen to podcasts. Make sure you got your notifications on, as you will be aware when we have new content. But without further ado, it's been a long day traveling. We made this happen the day of, and we're coming back, and we're going to edit it and get her out before the state tournament. But I give you head boys basketball coach at Bismarck High, the great and powerful Jordan, a.k.a. Willie Wilhelm. Willie, it's been a long time coming. Good to see you, brother.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to it.
And I just got done with practice. You guys are gearing up when this comes out. Obviously, it'll be the day of the state tournament.
Yep.
Watching that WDA championship, I had a front row seat. I feel like you guys were a 3-point shot away from winning it. You shot the 3, 4 seconds left, went in and out, don't get the rebound. Minot kind of runs out the clock. What were your thoughts on that WDA championship?
It was I mean, anytime you play a Minot High team, you know that it's going to be physical.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to have to earn every bucket, and that's what you expect when you're on the stage. And anytime that you play in a WDA tournament, state tournament, and you're on the stage playing at the Bismarck Civic Center, you know you're going to have a grind. So we knew coming in that we were going to have our hands full. You know, we played them twice this season, and the first time we went up there, lost by 6. We were down 15-20 early in the second half, made a run, ended up tying it or down 1, ended up making it real close, ended up losing by 6. We got them at our place. Grinder of a game. It was like 8-8, 9-9 with like 6 to go in the first half. Just an ugly rock fight. And then the second half, we opened it up a little bit and got hot down the stretch, and ended up winning at home. So we knew game 3, it was going to come down. You got to make some shots. You got to make sure that you execute your stuff in the clutch. We came out with great energy. I mean, we played extremely hard. We did all the things I know that our team is capable of and is going to do on a night out basis. And then even being down 12 with 4.5 to go.
I know.
I mean, there's 4.5, and our guys didn't even waver. And that's one of the things that I'm most proud of with this team is they don't worry about the scoreboard. They don't worry about what's going on around them. They just continue to play Demon basketball. They keep believing. And before you know it, Carter Hankey hits a 3 with 58 seconds left, and we tie the game, and we are 1 stop and 1 bucket away from winning the West Region title. So ultimately, I mean, we're still dancing. We're still moving on. We're still feeling good. But, you know, just you look at it, you come up a minute short. You feel like if you have 1 more minute left to play, you could have had a chance to win the thing.
Well, before we go any further, I wanted to tell you, I've known you for 10 years now, ever since you started coming up DC Classic. It's been so fun to watch you kind of grow right in front of the whole state and become this great, great coach. And I just want to tell you before we go any further, I'm very proud to be your friend, very proud of you in this Demon basketball. And just, I brought my friend Zach Jovic to, he doesn't know much about basketball, but I brought him to that Century game. You guys played in the semifinals.
Yep.
And he was like, dude, Bismarck, they just keep subbing 4 kids in and out, and they're like a wolf just nipping at an elk's heels, like continually just taking bites, and then they just pounce. I'm like, dude, that's Wilhelm basketball, and that's what he's done phenomenally well. So first off, just want to make sure I got that out of the way, get the sentimental part out. So it's been very fun to watch you, man.
Well, I appreciate it. And even like listening to your podcast over the years, I remember the one you did with Dexter. You guys both spoke way too kindly of me. I think Dex actually, he texted me right away after you guys were done, and he texted me. I said, I listened to it. He goes, I was way too nice to him. I'm like, I know you were, man. I know you didn't really mean it, but you don't tell me to my face, but you really do. You know, we got some love there, but I do appreciate it. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of the guys and the tradition that we're starting to build here. In 2020, when the new facility was built downstairs, we had missed back-to-back state tournaments with really good, solid, competitive teams. And I just honestly felt like we needed to shift a culture. We needed to change a pace. And that year with the new facility, we thought, new facility, new team, new Demons, let's go. And that was the year that we ended up in the state semifinals, and the tournament got canceled because of COVID. But just that first group and the guys that we've had, I can't take credit for any of it. All I did was give them the opportunity to play. It comes down to the players, and we have really, really tough-minded players here at Bismarck High, and a rich tradition and culture that has been a part of Bismarck High basketball dating back way before me, dating back to Marshall Murdoch in 1957. I'm just very proud just to be a part of the culture and a part of what Bismarck High basketball. So I appreciate the compliment. But like I said, man, it's the culture, the history, the tradition, and the kids first and foremost than me.
Well, listen, one of the questions I had when I was driving down here, I really wanted to talk to you because you're one of those rare cases where you played here and then you find yourself in the coaching world. Was it more nerve-wracking as a player suiting up, or do you find yourself more nerve-wracking as a coach trying to coach?
It actually feels kind of similar for me. The guys actually asked me heading into the West Region tournament, are you nervous, Willie? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was the same way as a player. I know some people just say they don't get nervous. I swear they must be lying about it.
Right.
But I honestly, that's what you live for. You live for those moments where you have those nerves and you make the best of it. It's that Mamba mentality. It's that Kobe mindset. It's that it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're playing, if you're competing, if you're playing in a golf tournament, you live for those moments where you get those nerves and then to see what you can do with those nerves, and it's the ones that can take it and harness it rather than the ones that take those nerves and let it kind of knock them down. And there's not a lot of things you can do in life where you get that feeling and that energy and that vibe. And as a 35-year-old man, that's, a little bit past my prime, and I don't get a chance to play in those situations. I'd give anything to play in those situations. But I think the nerves I got as a player are very similar to what I get as a coach. And that's part of what drives the coaching profession, I think, is that it gives you a chance to kind of put yourself back in that situation as a player. And there's not a lot of things where you get that energy and that feeling and that vibe.
What does it mean to you personally to not only be able to put on the Demon jersey when you played here, but now you get to put on the Demon polo, the Demon jacket, you get to coach on the sidelines? What does that mean to you?
There are several times throughout the season where I get texts from former players, when I get texts from former teammates, alumni. Guys that graduated in 1974 and reaching out on alumni night, or we had Native American Heritage Night.
Seen that. That's
and
awesome.
it was very cool. But I got a text from a gentleman that was asking. He said, "I graduated in 1974," and he goes, "Did you guys forget about me? I love what you guys are building there, but I didn't get a text." I'm like, "Dude, come on in, man.
Yeah.
Like this isn't just about our current Indigenous athletes or our current athletes." And I just think that the tradition and the pride and the history of Bismarck High basketball is something that's very special. It's a reason why I wanted to go to school here and play here. When they say bleed maroon, when they say Demon pride, a lot of people around here want to try and push that on some athletes and people in our school, and you can't push those things. It's something that you have to feel. And for me, when I walk into the main staircase and I see our marble staircase, when I drive by the building, I just think it's a very special place. It's something that I'm very proud that I was able to play here and compete at, and then now being able to come back onto staff and then to take over. And now it's crazy to say I'm in my 9th year as the head coach, something that I definitely do not take lightly and something that I don't take for granted.
Whew. I'm ready to go, dude. That was awesome. Okay. Let's bring it back a little bit more to this year. I just watched you guys practice. You're ready to go. You're going to be the 2 seed heading into state tomorrow, or tonight, I guess, when this comes out tomorrow morning. When Eagle Staff gets hurt, breaks his ankle, you were telling me how you guys were kind of on a roll. He specifically was on a roll, averaging 22 points. How do you rally the troops after one of your studs gets hurt to go on this magical run?
It honestly, it's a testament to our locker room. It's a testament to our seniors, and for these guys to be able to just pick each other up. I think the depth in our program right now is as good as it's ever been. As a matter of fact, I have a sophomore class that I think could compete with anyone across North Dakota as far as depth in our sophomore class. They won the sophomore tournament this year. They won each game by 20 plus, and none of those sophomores are playing varsity basketball for us. A lot of years, 2, 3, 4 of those guys will be playing, but our senior class this year has really developed a culture of just toughness and pride. They develop a culture of just that never give up. We're going to get after you, and from the start to finish for 36 minutes of basketball. So for me, honestly, after it happened, the next day of practice, there was a cloud hanging over practice.
Yeah.
And you could feel it. And he went to get checked out by the surgeon, came straight back to practice. The first thing he did is sit down, cheer on his teammates, let him know that he's here for them. There was definitely, like I said, a cloud hanging over practice, but I pulled him aside and I said, "Hey man, you know that we're better with you. You know that you've been playing unbelievable basketball, and I'd give anything to be able to, I'd give you my ankle to be able to let you play these last couple months, but I need to be able to approach this as in next man up, and we ain't going to lose a beat. And this is what Demon basketball is, and this is what we train for, that whatever happens, that someone's ready to step in. And if you understand the culture and you understand the system and you understand what's going on, that next man up is going to be just as prepared as the next guy."
And we're back. Lights are on. Shout out Coach. What's the coach's name?
Coach Hansen.
Shout out Coach Hansen. Save today. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Let's go back to what you were talking about this year's team. Eagle Staff gets hurt. You rally the troops. You go on this run.
Yeah, it was. He's super important to our team. Someone who was coming on extremely well. We played Century and Minot within a week of each other. Number 1 and number 2 in the state at the time. We knock off Century in their gym. Play extremely well. Eagle Staff has 25 points in the game. I think he had 18 or 20 in the first half. And he had just been struggling a little bit offensively before that, not defensively. I mean, defensively, he's as good as anyone in the league. The next week, a week later, we play Minot at home, number 1, undefeated, and knock those guys off at home. And he hits 3 threes at the end to end the game.
Perfect.
And really coming on strong. Yeah. And then the next game against Legacy at their place, he just closes out in the wing. Ankle broken, season over. Like I said, I mean, just there was a cloud over it. It was so sad, so tough. But next man up, and our senior crew, I think it was really is our thread line that kind of holds us together. When you have a strong senior class, it doesn't matter. In last year, we had 1 senior on the squad, and it was one of those years where, you're just searching for leadership. And our juniors did a good job of it. But at the same point, there's nothing more important than having strong senior leadership.
Right.
And this year with the 7 seniors, Tayshaun being one of them, when one goes down, the other one's just got to step up and do a lot more and do more communicating and more leading. And that's what I'm most proud of, is the way that those guys were able to hold us together in a moment like that.
Well, that guard that shot the 3 at the end that went in and out, is he, what, I forget his name.
Andre Austin
He
Jr.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, he's a great player.
Yeah. So he played as a freshman, came off the bench for us and played a little bit. And then last year really stepped into a leadership role as our point guard. He averaged like 16, 6, and 5 as a sophomore last year. He was unanimous selection for all conference. And then again this year, another unanimous selection for all conference. In my opinion, should be a first teamer on all state. I mean, the kid is as special as it gets. You know, he has the ball on a string. He can score at the rack. And the one thing that he's really added to his game that came to light on the stage at the West Region tournament was his ability to knock down the 3. And if he can shoot the 3 like he did at the West Region, along with all the other skills that he has, it makes him that much more dangerous. And his biggest skill is just his ability to get other guys shots and how unselfish he is. And he's a willing passer. Also, you know, one of our best, if not our best, on-ball defender. He's leading us in rebounds, and he's also our leader in assists. So, I mean, he's a guy that can do it all and fill the sheet.
What's the big guy's name?
Jack Schaefer.
He's a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
They love him. There was guys from Century sitting behind me. Yeah, I love him too. The pink shoes, it's all magical.
Yeah.
You were telling me down at practice, he's got some offers for football.
He does, yeah. So he picked up a UND and NDSU offer early on last summer. This year, our football team had a nice year. He was a first-team All-State football player as a junior. He went to a couple of elite camps last summer, was starting to garner some interest. Wisconsin brought their coaching staff in. They came to a game this year and watched him play. Wisconsin, yep.
Oh
Nebraska has some interest. He went on an unofficial visit to Notre Dame during our during the football season. So after Friday night, he made an unofficial out to Notre Dame. And then he got official offers just last week from Kansas State and Duke. So I think the floodgates are just starting to open. I think there's going to be a lot more offers coming his way. He's a pretty special kid.
Kansas State is the former NDSU coach, Clemon.
That's right, man.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool connection.
I really, I've watched you at the WDA, and it was fun watching you guys, but I can't help but ask this one. You're going against Dean Winchesky. Dean Winchesky, high on the podcast, very knowledgeable guy, 6 state championships, over 400 wins, kind of the big time. What is your thoughts going to the championship when you're going against a coach like Winchesky, and what did you say to your kids, and what's your mindset?
You know, like I mentioned earlier, when you go into a game against him, you know that they're just going to be assignment sharp.
Yeah.
And this year, you lose a kid like Dissett from a season ago, and he's had some very good first-team All-Staters, from Dakota Halverson to Keewan Johnson to Justin Eng, Deontay Martinez. You go down the list, he's had some super talented kids. And coming into this year, it's like, who is going to step up and really be that guy for him? And what they've done is it's just been kind of by... It's a different guy every night. One night it's Eric Winchesky. One night it's Grayson Schaefer. The next night it's Logan Conklin. Conklin had the night against us on Saturday with a 30 ball against us. But you know that they're just going to be assignment sharp. You're going to have to work for everything that you get. Dean and I go way back. Coach Winchesky, he was. That's part of the story that I told our guys after the game.
Played in the coached against you in the championship.
Yeah, he did, and he was the head coach at Dickinson High. And in 2007, when I was a senior, we smoked those guys in the West Region Finals. And then we lost to them in the state finals. And obviously that's a main key for me this week is you don't hang West Region banners on the wall. You know, your ultimate goal is to be playing on Saturday night and hanging the official banner. So we go back to when he was coaching against me. He was also my Lions All-Star coach. So I got to play for Coach Winchesky too for a summer when we played in the Lions All-Star game. So he and I have a good relationship. We go back and forth. Obviously, when you're on the court, you want to just do everything you can to beat him. But off the court, we're good friends, and he's a guy that obviously with the resume that he's built and the teams that he's had, when you beat a Dean Winchesky team, you're doing things right. What's
going to take for a Demon run here to get a state title?
Saying to our guys, I don't think there's anything special or specific we got to do to make a run. I've been in this tournament enough times as a player and as a coach that there's certain years where that everything has to go right, where everything has to be perfect, where you have to shoot 60% from 3 and everything has to go your way. I think with this team this year, if we can just do everything we've done all season long, but on a heightened level, every single loose ball, when the ball comes off the rim, when the ball's on the floor. I mean, I was preaching to our guys this week at practice, and I think a couple of them chuckled about it. But that bad boy Pistons team from the early 90s with Andre Austin being Isaiah Thomas, with Big Jack being Dennis Rodman. I think we have kind of the pieces to that where we're not the most talented team in the tournament. You know, you look at what Davies has, what Fargo North has, what Minot has, probably more basketball talent. But we have some tough guys and guys that understand how to play hard. And then when you have a point guard like Andre, I've been saying it for the last 2 weeks, you win games in March with good perimeter play. And in my opinion, we have one of the, if not the best point guard in North Dakota. Obviously, that Claybo kid from Davies would have something to say about it. But he's a very special kid, like we already mentioned. So when I have a point guard like that with a big man like Jack, along with those tough seniors and guys that can knock down shots and get it, I think that our chances is as good as anyone this weekend.
Let's talk your press.
Yep.
Everybody in the state knows it. How did you come up with that, and what was your mindset with the run and jump press that you do?
I actually, so I played college basketball with Jason and Jeff West. Jason, who ended up playing at Minot State, you know Jason real well.
Yep.
Jeff is now the assistant over at Mandan High School. Their dad ran a similar style in California, in the CIF in Lompoc, California. And for years, Jason and Jeff had talked about how much success he was having in the CIF with this run and gun style, with this heavy pressure style, with getting up and down the court. And for years, I wanted to move to it. Well, when you take over for a guy like Steve Miller, where for 25 years you're running a specific set, a specific style, a slow it down, move it side to side, play through your posts, and you take over. It's the system I played in, and it's the system I coached in for 4 years with him. It was difficult for me to make a change because it was part of that Demon tradition running this certain style. And my first couple of years as the head coach, we made the state tournament. We had tough teams. We took teams down to the wire. And then for a couple of years there, we missed the state. And when you miss the state tournament 2 years in a row, even though we had good teams, you look at your personnel, you understand the type of athlete we have at Bismarck High, which is tough, gritty, you know, a lot of times not a ton of size. And we were looking across the board. If we're playing through our posts and my posts are 6'2" and we're playing against 6'7", 6'8", we should probably do something different. So we decided to switch that system up. And I got a hold of Jason and Jeff's dad, Gary. He got me in touch with some of the things that he had looked at. He turned me on to a DVD set that he had learned from. I watched the DVDs, did some research, studied up kind of what he did, and then decided how I can make it my own. And we preached it to him all summer long, did a couple team camps with it, did our kind of summer training where we were changing things, we're changing culture, changing the way we do things. And luckily for me, my senior class in 2020 just totally bought in. They listened to every word. They were all in, completely bought in. I still talk to those guys on a weekly basis because we didn't have a chance to finish that tournament that year. But if we wouldn't have had that buy-in from the first second, that first moment, I don't know if we would have had the success. And one more quick story for you. The very first time we ran it, we played Fargo North at their place in a non-conference game to start the season. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that was the most nervous I've been before a game as a coach.
I'm sure.
I didn't know if we were going to lose by 30, win by 30, what was going to happen. And we broke the school record for points scored and threes made in our first game in the system. So yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Things were meant to be. When you have that kind of success with your first game, it's kind of cool to have that moment. And when you see the results immediately, I think that helped with the buy-in too.
I've been paying attention to UND basketball a lot because of a former player of yours, Trace Negan's staff, a fantastic player. How much did he have against, that was Century, was that in the 60s?
52.
52.
Yeah.
What's it like to coach a kid like Trayson and to be very close, which you guys were, and now to see the success he's having in college?
I couldn't be more proud of the kid, man. I almost get emotional talking about him sometimes just because of the work that he put in and the time that he put in. And, what's the secret? How do you get better? How do you get to a certain level? Obviously, there's a talent level that comes with it. You need to have a certain skill set in order to reach your goals. But the time that he put in, the work that he put in, the late nights, the early mornings, and I've told the story before, but after every game, it didn't matter if we won or lose. I'd get home, it's 10 o'clock, you're going to bed. Hey, 6 a.m. tomorrow? Yep, I got you. You're up in the gym at 6 a.m. the day after games. It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. Hey, Willie, can you get me into the gym? Can we get the gun out? Absolutely, Trayson.
Wow.
It doesn't happen by accident. Right. And it's the time that he put in and the effort and the will that kid has. I still remember heading into his junior year, he had a really strong sophomore year. I remember telling everyone that I could talk to, this kid's special. He's the best player in North Dakota right now. Come on, Willie. He averaged 10 last year as a sophomore. Like, he played freshman ball for you as a freshman. Like, I'm telling you, he's the best kid in North Dakota. That year, I sent emails out to about 35 schools, anyone within a range of North Dakota. You go 2 or 3 states anywhere. I sent out emails, just asking people, get him on your radar, like, please. And I sent one specific one to UND saying that this is his dream school because his great uncle, Robert, went to UND, Bob Eaglestaff, a name that goes way back. And that year, it was February. I remember he called me, Will, you're not going to believe it. I just got an offer from UND. And it was just such a cool moment. You know, his goal is to go D1, his goal is to go to UND. And to see the success he has, I think UND has a pretty special group. I think they can make a run. I think they're as capable as anyone in that Summit League. But just, you know, to see it go from freshman ball to starting as a sophomore to 2 years first team All-State to Mr. Basketball to playing and starting 15 games as a freshman, now to this year with, I haven't seen yet, I don't think they've come out yet, but I think he has a pretty good shot to be a second team All-Summit kid this year. Pretty proud of where he's come.
Talking about special players from Bismarck High, you played with one, Lucas Martinez, fantastic player down in that Mexican league.
Heck yeah.
He's MVP, multiple championship down there. What you were telling me downstairs, you guys played, he played in what, 3 state titles? Or?
So Luke played sophomore ball as a sophomore, actually. He actually played some sophomore B when I was a junior.
Really?
So when I was a junior, he played some sophomore B and then sophomore A. He played in the sophomore tournament. He played 0 varsity as a sophomore. And then the jump between his sophomore and junior year, a lot of people don't know either. Trayson and Luke have a lot of correlations this way. They both graduated at 17. So they were both a year younger. So he's really only the age of a freshman when he was a sophomore. Luke came in the next year. I doubt our coaches had him penciled in as a starter. And instantly the first day of practice, like, this kid is going to play for us. He was an all-conference kid as a junior when I was a senior. So that was his first year playing varsity basketball. It was my junior year, or my senior year when he was a junior. So I played 1 year with Luke at the high school level. Yep.
Okay, and then another guy we got to talk about. He had a lot of great things to say with you, did a podcast with him, played really good basketball here and at North Dakota State, but shout out Dexter Warner.
Yeah, man.
Dex is the color guy now for North Dakota State on the radio. Talk a little bit about Dexter and what he had to do with this program.
Also, I don't know if you knew this, Lucas is playing in the G League right now.
Really?
He's a current starter for the Mexico City Capitanes. So he got done with his league in Mexicali, playing for the Soles, went back home to Wyoming and got a call from the G League. And he's currently starting. Juan Toscano, who was a world champion with the Warriors, just got signed by the Capitanes last week. So all of a sudden their roster is pretty nice and they've been winning games. So he's starting for the Capitanes right now, which is pretty cool.
It is.
But Dex is another special kid. I had a chance, actually, the very first team I ever coached was when Dexter was a 7th grader. So when I was in 7th grade, when he was in 7th grade, I was a senior in high school. I was doing some individual skill development work with a child of a lady that my mom cut her hair. And it wasn't Dex. It was actually the point guard on that team.
Okay.
And they reached out to me as far as, would you be interested in coaching this team? And I'm like, sure, I don't know. And I didn't realize that I was being gifted the best team, the best traveling team that was in the area at the time. And Dexter Werner was one of them. You know, you walk in, he's got them chubby cheeks. He's running with his legs dead straight, just like he does now. I just remember the very first tournament that we had. He's just, jogging up and down the court. I think he had like 25 points and 30 rebounds. And he always had a knacker on the glass, a knack for grabbing rebounds, a knack for scoring around the hoop. And one thing Dexter didn't get enough credit for is how good of a passer he was.
Yeah.
I mean, just an excellent creator. And you saw that at North Dakota State. He wasn't just someone that was scoring with the ball in his hands. He was doing all the dirty work. There's a reason he was a crowd favorite. Like you mentioned that with Jack earlier, is the guys that are willing to do the extra stuff, that are willing to dive on the floor for loose balls. I mean, how many times you watched him in North Dakota State diving into the stands and doing the Dennis Rodman where he's full laying out. And that's how he earned his role at North Dakota State, going from a guy that came in, probably not where they needed to be body-wise, going to not playing his freshman year to starting or playing a little as a sophomore, and then eventually becoming an all-Summit League player and giving buckets to Sabonis on the big stage at the NCAA tournament.
People forget about that. He was giving Gonzaga buckets.
Yeah, man. It was a super cool moment. It was the weekend of the Freud tournament. I was sitting with Matt Cavernum and Jarek Hansen and Jason West, and we were watching the game, and I'll never forget where I was that exact moment, watching him just get loose, and then I'm staring at my phone, and he's the number one trend on on Twitter. I mean, it was pretty special to see, a guy from my original team have that kind of success on that stage. It was pretty special.
When he came up to the DC Classic, Matt Caverton brought him up on his team, and he had I think averages right around 35. He was coming right from Europe, but I have never seen a kid or a guy take over just a basket. I mean, it is amateur ball, but it's good amateur ball, and he just took over. But he was in such great shape, fadeaway threes.
Yeah,
you guys cleaned house. I mean, you won every game, and
he had 50 in the finals,
50 in the championship. And I remember people Saturday night and Sunday from Crosby being like, "Dude, this guy is going to be legit next level." And Dexter just says more and more about him as a person. Gave everybody the time of day, had a few beers down at Joey's, just a fantastic human being.
Yeah. And that's the thing that Brian Qualley played with me last year in Freud, he was Mr. Basketball in 2007, my year. And it was the same thing with Dex. When they go to Europe, you learn a different skill set.
Right.
You're no longer being asked to sit in the block and go to your left shoulder. You're now being given opportunities to bring the ball up. And if you can't develop a jump shot, you're not going to play overseas. And that's, I think, Dexter, fresh off of that playing in Germany, that's why he could shoot those perimeter shots, because they were making him do that. They weren't telling him to go around the basket. They were making him develop those different skills. And it was the same thing with Qualley last year. We were playing out in Freud, and Brian says to me the night before the tournament, he goes, "Willie, just so you know, I shoot threes now." I'm like, "Okay, Brian,
really?
get in the block." He goes, "I'm serious." I'm like, "All right, we'll see." Next day, I think he had 7 threes in the first round. He had 48 and 16. I'm just like, what are they teaching you guys in Europe?
Guy?
It was unbelievable. Because when you're doing it for your living and you're playing overseas, it's a different game, man. It's no longer playing through your post. It's space, pace and space, and you got to be able to shoot the three and handle it.
You play a lot of amateur basketball, whether it's City League, going to all these tournaments around the state. It's a lot of fun watching. And Matt Caverton I was talking to Matt on the way down here. Does playing City League and being around the game, playing as well, does that help you with coaching? Not only you're not coaching, but you're actually actively playing the game?
I don't think so. I don't think for me personally. Honestly, if anything, the way I coach affects me as a player. And I see it sometimes too. If we have a bad day of practice on a Wednesday, I will have a negative energy at the game on Wednesday night. I tell people this too. When I play, I approach the game as a player, not as a coach. And it's probably not a great thing to be as far as calling timeouts, stopping runs, drawing things up in the huddle, communication in the huddle. When I coach, it's constantly you're trying to think of what's next, and you're trying to, making adjustments and all those sort of things. When I'm a player, it's very much internal, and what can I be doing? And if I make a mistake, I'm trying to not allow that mistake to happen again. So I honestly, as a player, I've always been someone that has been coachable. Whoever is my current coach is the person I'm going to listen to. Whatever you say is gospel. I've never been someone that questioned coaching. I've never been someone that pushes back on coaching and asks why. If you tell me to do this, I'm going to do that. So I think I was just so trained by Coach Miller and Coach Mattern and the coaches that I had here at Bismarck High that this is how things are done. You're going to be coached a certain way that even now as a City League player, I fall back on those foundations that I was taught, but I definitely don't think of it almost from that perspective, because once I'm playing, it's a different kind of mindset for me.
Not only were you a great player here at Bismarck High, but you were very good at UMary. How did your time here at Bismarck High prepare you for what was to come at University of Mary basketball?
Yeah, I think the number one thing I learned from my coaches at Bismarck High was what it means to play defense, what it means to compete. I think a lot of times when our kids get to us as freshmen and sophomores and they put in all this time in the gym, they think I'm going to be given opportunity, where there's a different side of being a varsity basketball player and then a completely different side of it when you become a college player, that it isn't just being skilled. It's not just being able to make shots. There's a different level of competitiveness that comes with being a varsity player, and there's a completely different level once you get to the college game. And I think that was the number one foundation I learned from my coaches at Bismarck High, was what it really looks like to compete. And I think that's the one thing I learned from those guys beyond anything else, was that there are ways that you can push yourself beyond what you know you're capable of. And it's not just, sometimes you think you're playing hard, you think you're doing things the right way, you see it on film, you're told you're not, you get frustrated, and then you understand that there's different levels you can push yourself to. So I think that was the number one thing I learned from our coaching staff here, was what it really means to compete.
I talked to every coach I talked to that takes over for a successful program. Coach Gibson, he had 6 state titles. Is that correct?
6, yep.
6 state titles. You come in, played for him. What was
Coach
it?
Miller.
Coach Miller. Excuse me.
Coach
Sorry,
Gibson,
Coach Miller.
guy, yeah.
Coach Gibson.
Shout out both have 6, so you're right either way.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Coach Miller, fantastic coach, known around the state. I compare it to Aaron Rodgers stepping into Brett Favre's shoes as a quarterback. What was it like for you to step into these huge shoes, and you're bringing this different philosophy? take us through that, man, because that had to have been nerve-wracking, difficult, all the above.
I think I was too young and dumb to realize what I was really doing. You know, when they offered me the job as a 25-year-old, and I came in from the University of Mary just ready to go, man. Like, let's go. And I was his assistant for 4 years, and I think I'm ready for this. Let's go. And I don't know if I really truly realized maybe the magnitude of what it means to take over for a guy like Steve Miller. And now when I reflect on it, I just almost laugh and shake my head like, what was I thinking? But you know, when you take over for someone like that and you take over a program like Bismarck High, like I mentioned earlier, you know that there's a seriousness with it. And I think the big thing for us is our alumni and the people that come before. Those are the things that run through my mind all the time is I want to do anything I can and everything I can to make them proud. There's nothing that makes me happier than when I hear from alumni, from old teammates, from players that played for me in the past. Like, I love this team, Willie. Like, congratulations. Like, great win. Like, those are the things that as a coach mean the most to you. So I think when I took over, it was just doing everything that I could, any extra hours, any extra film you can watch, just to try and make them proud, to make them realize that what you're doing is the right thing. And I hope that, you know, since I've taken over, that I've made the people of Bismarck High proud, and I've done them right. But when you take over for a guy like that, you know, 25 years, coaches in 12 state championships, winning 6. Very special run that he put together. You know that you're in for, you're going to have your hands full, but I feel like we've maintained that culture and our guys still believe and they hold themselves to a high standard.
You still talk to him quite a bit? Or?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, when he retired, he told me right away, I'm not going to come to a lot of games. And why? I'm like, why? You know, like, what's going on with that? He goes, honestly, Willie, it's hard for me and it's emotional for me. And when you spend that much time in a program and you spend that much time around a program, it was just hard for him to come to games and be around it. And I totally respected that. And if that's the way he handles it, that's totally great. And I respect him for it. I know he still keeps up on it. We talk a couple times throughout the year. He just called me a couple weeks ago to congratulate me. And the number one thing, the first thing he said, of course, was, I just love the way you guys play in the half court defensively. And that meant a lot to me because that was what he had held up as our number one standard at Bismarck High, is we're going to play defense. And that was one thing that he definitely mentioned to me. But yeah, we still talk for sure.
That's good to hear. When I was coaching, we were down here in a tournament and I asked, hey, can we come do a quick shoot around Saturday morning? You're like, sure, for sure. And then I also asked you, would you mind talking to my team? You're like, yeah, absolutely. So we came in, I think it was Saturday morning. You guys had just played in Minot and Eagle staff was shooting around. You were there. We did our shoot around and then you talked to the team. But the speech you had was so amazing because you talked about how the mistakes that you made as a player have helped you become a better coach. There was one specific thing that you talked about in the state championship. You'll have to refresh my memory, but it was a turnover or a missed shot. I can't remember exactly, but touch on that speech, man, because that was amazing.
Yeah. I still haven't watched it back. In 2007, when we lost to Dickinson, I had a chance to tie the game or win the game. We're down 2 with the ball in my hands. Coach Miller didn't call timeout. He let me decide the game, and I missed a shot to tie the game. It was a 2-pointer. Still haven't watched it back, but those moments, and whether you're a player or a coach, and that is the number one thing, is when you make those mistakes and you do something that doesn't have success, there's one of 2 ways you can go with it. You know, are you going to let it bring you down? Are you going to let it define you? Are you going to let it be a part of what you are? Are you going to learn from it? You know, and a big term for me is resilience. And I use it at practice all the time as something we actually teach here at the high school in the FIA department, that you're going to have negative things happen in your life. There are going to be things that put you back. You're going to hear things are going to happen with your family, sports-wise. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have losses. And it's how you deal with those things that define you as a person and define you as a human and define you as an athlete. So when I had that happen to me and you missed the shot, did it drive me crazy? Is it still something I think about on occasion? Not as much anymore. Obviously, for the couple years after, you were thinking about it a lot more. I think about it a lot less now. But honestly, I used it more to drive myself, that if I'm in that situation again, it's not going to happen, that you're not going to miss the shot. But the big thing is you can't be afraid to take the shot, and you can't be afraid of the moment. And just like I mentioned earlier, when you have those big moments and you feel that energy and you feel those nerves, what are you going to do with it? And I think that all the setbacks I've had, the losses I've had, I think about the losses more than I think about the wins. I think about the misses more than I think about the makes. And that's one thing about sports that is, I think, what drives you. It builds character. And it's the number one thing I think that you learn as an athlete is being okay with those losses and not letting it define you, and learning something from it and making yourself better because of it.
Spot on, buddy. That was spot on. Okay. I know you got a big game tomorrow, so we got 2 segments left here. Okay, this next segment is called 10 for 10. 10 questions, no right or wrong answer, just kind of your preferences, okay? Okay, 10 for 10 with Willie, and away we go. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger.
Palm trees or evergreen trees?
Palm trees.
Lake or ocean?
Ocean.
Favorite actor or actress?
Adam Sandler.
Good choice, my friend. That's why we're good buddies. Favorite band or rap artist?
I'm going to go Led Zeppelin.
Okay, good choice again. What city in Texas has an NBA mascot nicknamed the Mavericks?
Dallas.
What city in Texas has an NFL team nicknamed the Cowboys?
Dallas.
What city in Texas spelled backwards reads salad?
Dallas.
Who is your favorite podcaster, best friend, and runs the best amateur tournament in North Dakota?
Dallas. DC Classic, baby. Let's go.
Thanks, Willie. Appreciate you, man. Swim Lessons is a podcast about overcoming the tough times. You just touched on a little bit, but what can somebody listening to this podcast take from it and maybe make it applicable to your life that you do on a daily basis? And when the chips are against you, maybe you're down late in the fourth quarter, like in the WDA championship, what do you say to yourself to get yourself back in the moment?
It's become part of our program tradition that it doesn't matter where you're at now, it's where you're going to be. We had a practice this year. We do every year where we go down to our middle school, and we have our varsity kids get in with the middle school kids. And that's always a part of my message, is that it doesn't matter if you're playing on the B team now. It doesn't matter where you're at right now. It's where you're going to be next year. It's where you're going to be at tomorrow. It's where you're going to be at in the next drill. And I think that's something that we have prided ourselves on here at Bismarck High, is we're not just playing day to day, game to game. It's drill to drill. And if you can take things from one thing to the next, and you can be better every day, and you can keep getting better and improving each day, how much better are you going to be by the end of the season? And I think that applies to a lot of things in life, that if you're in a bad circumstance, it goes back to my word resilience. And that's why that's one of my keywords, that it doesn't matter what your situation is now. We're all dealt a different hand of cards. And that's part of why I love being at Bismarck High too, is we have people that come from all different walks of life. Our socioeconomic here at Bismarck High is there are people that live on Southport and their parents make a lot of money. And we have people that are at home taking care of little brothers and sisters and maintaining jobs during a season. And it doesn't matter what hand you're dealt, it's what you're going to do with it. And I think that's a big thing, is it's not dwelling on the past. It's not worrying about where you're at now, but how much better can I get by tomorrow? And I think it's a huge thing that I've lived by, and it's not dwelling on things that happened in the past, but you move on to the next play. It's a next play mentality. I think that's a huge reason why all athletes, you see them have success in the business world. You see them go places and have success because you learn those cultures and you learn those things being an athlete. And I think that that's part of our tradition at Bismarck High. It's something I'm very proud of. And I think it's something you can live your life by, is just next play, man, next play.
Well said, my friend. As I said earlier, I'm very proud of you, very honored to be your friend, and I wish you guys the best of luck tomorrow and all the way through state. I'm a Magician Demon fan. I know that's not said by many fans, but I love both your guys' programs. I think it's fantastic. You guys represent the West very well, and I wish you nothing but the best, and you go on a run here and bring home a state title. Let's go, buddy.
Man.
Let's
You're
go.
the man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Willie.
Yep.